Paper. I'm
You want to come back here? Okay. Hey, go up.
I am representing Benjamin Franklin. I was born in Boston, Massachusetts. I was born in January 17, 1706. My father's name was Josiah Franklin. My mother's name was Abigail Folger. I had 17 brothers and sisters. My sibling names were Elizabeth, Samuel, Anna, Josiah Jr., Anne, Joseph, Abigail Folger, John, Peter, Mary, James, Sarah, Ebenezer, Thomas, Benjamin, Lydia, and Jan. I was the author of Poor Richard Almanac. It was full of weather forecast witty, poem, calendars, proverbs, and practical advice. I also loved reading books and writing poetry. I created the first newspapers in America. I was appointed by the Second Continental Congress to the Committee of Five, which is given the task of drafting Declaration of Independence. The most interesting fact that I learned about this person is Benjamin Franklin printed newspapers out. I admire Benjamin Franklin's intelligence because he was a special printer.
If society didn't admit to the woman's free development, then society must be remodeled. Do you know who is the first woman doctor? I'm representing Elizabeth Blackwell. I was born in Cordership, Bristol, England. I was born on February 3rd, 1821. I had 4 brothers and 4 sisters. My mom's name was Hannah and my dad's name was Samuel. My siblings' names were Anna, Marion, Emily, Sarah, Ellen, Henry, George, John, and Samuel. I was a leader ever since I was a child. One accomplishment I did is I was the first woman to receive a medical degree in the United States. Another one is in 1852, I published The Laws of Life with special reference to the physical education of girls. I was also the first woman doctor. The most interesting thing I learned about Elizabeth Blackwell is she was the first female doctor. I admire Elizabeth Blackwell because she helped children.
You can tell a bunch about a tall skirt by the way of eating jelly beans. Do you know somebody who's the president and a governor? I'm representing Ronald Reagan because he was awesome. I was born in Topeka, Illinois. I was born on February 6, 1911. I had 4 people in my family. My family is Nell and John Reagan and a brother named Neil. One childhood fact is I studied economics and played football. Another childhood fact is I worked at various radio stations. One accomplishment is I dealt skillfully with Congress. Another accomplishment I did was becoming the 40th President of the United States. One last accomplishment I did was becoming a very famous movie star. I died June 5th, 2004. The most interesting thing I learned about Ronald Reagan is that he became a very famous movie star before he became president. I admire Ronald Reagan because he ended the Cold War as we know it. He made it so the USA and USSR are friends.
One quote that I said is, leadership and learning are independent to each other. Do you know who was a sick person when they were a child? I'm representing John F. Kennedy for my report. I was born in Brooklyn, Massachusetts. I was born on May 29, 1917. The people in my family were Joseph, Rose, Rosemary, Kathleen, Inuins, Patricia, Robert, Jean, and Edward. One childhood fact is that I was not a healthy child. Another childhood fact is that math was my favorite subject in school. I'm famous for many reasons. One accomplishment I did was being the 35th President of the United States. Another accomplishment I did was being congressman for 6 years. A last accomplishment I did was being the youngest man ever elected president.
I died on November 22, 1963 in Dallas, Texas. The most interesting fact that I've learned about John F. Kennedy was that he was not a healthy child. I admire John F. Kennedy's leadership because he was a respectful man.
Who was the first woman astronaut in space? I'm representing Sally Ride for my biography report because she was a physics professor at the University of California, San Diego, and my sister goes there. I was born in Los Angeles, California. I was born on May 26, 1951. I had 4 people in my family. My parents were Joyce and Dale, and I had a little sister named Karen. One childhood fact that I had is that I love softball, tennis, and football. Another childhood fact that I had is that by the time I was a senior at Westlake High, I was the captain of the tennis team. I am famous for many reasons. One of my accomplishments is that I was the first woman astronaut in space. Another one of my accomplishments is that I became a celebrity and got interviewed for a lot by newspapers, magazines, television shows, and radio shows because of my job. My third accomplishment is that Texas voted to name an elementary school called Sally K. Ride Elementary after me. I am still alive today. I am 60 years old. The most interesting fact that I learned about Sally Ride is that she was the first woman astronaut in space. I admire Sally Ride because she loves science just like me. Sally Ride was quoted as saying, "You're getting ready to launch into space. You're sitting on a big explosion waiting to happen."
It's not fair to ask of others what you are not willing to do yourself. Did you know a famous person that became an orphan with the death of her father? I'm representing Eleanor Roosevelt for my biography report. I was born in New York City. I was born on October 11th, 1884. I have 7 people in my family. I have 4 brothers and 0 sisters. My brothers' names are Franklin, John, James, and Franklin Jr. My mom's name is Anna and my dad's name is Elliot. As a child, my mother died in 1892. 2 years later, I became an orphan at the age 10, the death of her father. I was sent to school in England as a teenager. I have many accomplishments. One thing that I was famous for is as the U.S. delegate to the United Nations General Assembly. Another thing that I was famous for is as the first lady of the U.S. from 1933 to 1945, when my husband Franklin D. Roosevelt was president. The last thing I was famous for is I ran for state senate and wrote an autobiography and also drafted the Declaration of Human Rights. I died on November 7th, 1962. The most interesting fact I learned about Eleanor is that she became an orphan at the age 10 at the death of her father. I think something special about Eleanor is that she was the most outspoken person in the White House.